All right, so we started this first problem together using elimination. You actually could have eliminated either the x or the y, but we decided to eliminate the x by multiplying by -2. And then you got negative 4x minus 12y equals negative 68. And then you bring your first equation down, the one that you want to add to it.
Wow.
And you add them together. And then your negative 4x and your 4x cancel out. This gives you negative 15y. And you add these together and get negative 60. And then divide to get rid of your negative 15. So we get y equals 4. How many people got that far already? Y equals 4? Anybody get that? Good. All right, putting the 4 back into one of the equations, which one should I pick? It doesn't matter. The top one? Okay. So I'm going to use the top one. If you chose the second one, that's also fine. Instead of the y, I'm putting in 4 because that's what the y is. And then multiply. And now I have to solve for x. What do I do first? Do I undo the subtraction or undo the multiplication first? So remember, we do PEMDAS backwards, so we have to start with addition and subtraction when you're solving. So we have to undo addition or subtraction first. And then we'll divide and get x equals 5. Now, once you're here, you're essentially done, but you have to organize your answer into a point. So do the x number, comma, the y number. All right, what questions do you have on the first one? How do you graph it? Let's do the graphing second. Let's solve 2 and then let's graph them both, okay? All right, in problem 2, some of you may have substituted x squared minus 4x plus 8 for the y right away. This one we did with substitution. Some of you may have solved this one for y and then substituted. How many of you, raise your hand if you solved the second equation for y and then you substituted? I know Hayden, you did that. Did anybody else do that? Did anybody raise your hand if you just substituted the whole thing into the y that we already had?
Is that 5 and 1?
I don't know yet. I haven't done the problem.
Or is it 1 and 5?
Spoiler.
It's 1 and 5.
Okay.
I just put it in the calculator. I didn't do anything bad.
All right. So I'm gonna use Hayden's method since nobody else told me anything. I'm gonna get y by itself here. So I get y equals 6 minus x. And now since I have two things that equal y, they equal each other. So that means this equals this, because they both equal y. So if you haven't written anything down yet, now's a good time to start. We got the y by itself by subtracting the x. And now I have two things that equal y. So I'm going to write that they equal each other. X squared minus 4x plus 8 equals 6 minus x. And then this is a quadratic equation because of the x squared. When you solve a quadratic equation, you have to make one side 0. So I'm going to get rid of these things. I'm going to get rid of the positive 6 with a minus 6 and put it under the like term. And I'm going to get rid of the minus x with a plus x and put it under the like term. And that cancels out everything on the right, and that's what I was trying to do. On the left side, combine like terms, you have x squared 3x plus 2. All right, from last lesson, does anybody remember what we have to do now?
We have to find something that is that
Yeah, multiplies to what number?
2.
Multiplies to 2 and adds to negative 3. Very good. All right, so multiplies to 2 and adds to negative 3. We're factoring. All right, what are the numbers? Minus 2 and negative 2 times negative. If you add them, you get negative 3.
Imagine.
Then you have to solve by setting each factor equal to 0. All right, so we've done a lot of work and we found 2 numbers for x, but we're still in the y's. I'm going to pause though because I know some people are catching up. But if you got this far and you know what to do next, substituting your x values into either of the equations, this is a good choice to find the y. It is, right? Did you solve it by graphing them in?
Yeah, I did.
So that was,
Y
But
equals
I'm
5.
allowed to do that, right?
so on the quiz there'll be some problems that you have to solve by hand and some that you're allowed to graph. So it's good to know both.
I don't know this method very well.
Y equals 5.
Like I would have,
Okay.
like if we stopped right here, I would have thought the answer is x is 2
Alright.
1.
Yeah, that's why you won't mess that up.
Huh?
Okay, so here's my equation for y, this one right here. You could have chosen either one, but that's easier. Substitute your x back in, so y equals 6 minus 2, which is 4. And so then I get the point, x is 2, y is 4. Do the same thing for the other one. This time x is 1, so 6 minus 1 is 5. And this point is x is 1 and y is 5. One problem, so it will another way of solving it, like by graphing. So we are going to go through the graphing part now. If you don't get one, please, you need to know how to do this. Okay. When you solve on the calculator, you do have to get y by itself, because when you look at your calculator and you need to graph, you have to press your y equals button. And so the equation has to start with y equals. It's not like Desmos where you can type in anything you want. You can only type in equations that start with y equals. So we have to get y by itself. So your first step when you're graphing is to solve each equation for y. To get this y by itself, I'm going to start by subtracting the 4x. I get negative 3y equals 8 minus 4x. And then I'm going to divide by negative 3. All right, to get y by itself, minus the 2x. 6y equals 34 minus 2x, and then divide by 6, and put parentheses on your numerator. Now once you have that, grab your calculator and press the y equals button, which is on the top left. If there's anything in your y equals, you need to press clear to get rid of it. So I'm going to go to my calculator now. And I'm going to press y equals, and I'm going to clear out what's in there. And I'm going to put parentheses 8 minus 4x. Remember the x is next to the green button. Close your parentheses and divide it by negative 3. And then I'm going to go down and I have parentheses 34 minus 2x. Close parentheses, and then divided by 6. Yes. Let's finish this first, okay? All right. If you need help and your neighbor hasn't helped you or you haven't asked your neighbor yet, you can ask me. Is there anybody who wants help getting this in your calculator? Okay. For a lot of you, you'll be able to press graph and you'll see the graph. But for some of you, like my window is all messed up. That's not how I want it to look. So if you think your window might be messed up, press zoom and choose standard, which is choice 6. All right, this is a good window to see it in. Zoom and standard will get you the -10 to +10 window. All right, then the steps are on your paper. Let me switch back to your paper for a second. It's right over here. It says you're going to press second and then trace, choose 5 intersect, and press enter 3 times. Okay? So I'm going to follow those steps right now. Second, trace, choose 5, and then press enter, enter, enter. You guys see the answer on the bottom, 5, 4? That's the same answer that we got with elimination, right? Yes. I'm going to show you again. You ready? Okay. So from your graph, you press second, trace. You choose 5, which is intersect. You want to know where these lines intersect. You're going to press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Good? Okay. Okay. Might have had a typo in your y equals. I'm going to get people started on the second one and then see if I can. So on your calculator, you need to put in both of these equations. So you need to go to y equals and clear out what you had already. And the first one is x squared minus 4x and then plus 8. And then the second one is 6 minus x. Okay. Raise your hand if you have a graph that looks like this. One person, 2, 3, 4. Does anybody need help getting their graph to look like this? Okay. Now, the first part is the same as last time. Press second, trace, intersect, enter, enter, enter. I got 1, 5. Did anybody else get 1, 5 from that?
I did.
Okay. For the second answer, if you do exactly the same thing, it's going to say 1, 5 again, but we know there's a different answer. You start the same. You press second, trace, intersect, and you press enter, enter. But when it says guess, you have to move closer to the second answer or it's just going to keep guessing the first answer. So you have to move your cursor with the right arrow over to where the second answer is and then press enter. And then it will tell you the other answer, which is 2, 4. Does anybody want to see that again? Okay. You start the same way. Do second, trace, intersect, and then you press enter, enter, but your cursor is going to be over here on the first answer. So what you need to do is use the right arrow to move your cursor closer to the